name is Ryan Buds, and I'm super excited to be here today with you guys for Actors for Autism. I am learning more and more about the organization every day, and I am super glad to be a part of it on this very special Tuesday. What's really cool about this building, when Liz sent me the address to come check it out and visit with you guys, is that I work in this building on the 5th floor. Literally 5 floors above the room we're in right now. I eat at the basement cafe all the time. And it just so happened that when she gave me the address, she goes, it's really hard to get in. There's a courtyard, but some doors are locked. And it's in a basement. And there's no Wi-Fi. And I'm like, I know all about it. So this is super convenient for me. I'm not currently working on the show that I worked on the 5th floor of this building, but we're coming back any day now. And there's another show that I also work on the 4th floor of the building right across, the same Hollywood Production Center, but across the walkway, the Skyway. And I'll be starting back on that show on March 20th. So super excited to be back at the Hollywood Production Center in Glendale. If you can tell, I have an accent with the word accent. You can tell words like Chicago, garage, ma, college, all tell you that I'm from Chicago. That's where I grew up, born and raised. I'm 31 years old. I was born in 1985 on the south side of Chicago, and I'm the youngest of 5. And all my older siblings are amazing athletes. So I have 2 older brothers who are fantastic at baseball and basketball. They hold all kinds of records at our school. And then I came along and didn't do anything sports related. I was more of the talker, and I was always pretty good at reading and writing English related kind of stuff, public speaking, joking around, acting, that kind of stuff. At an early age, I used to really enjoy making people laugh, and I know that a lot of comedians usually have that background, but I would write kind of like little sketches and skits and jokes and scenarios about my parents, mostly my parents, and I would deliver those. I would type them out, and I would read them at family parties. And then all the rest of my relatives would laugh because they know my parents and how crazy they are. For example, my mom and dad used to watch the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I don't know if anyone remembers that game show, but they used to watch it in separate rooms, and they would scream out the answer before the other person could get it, and then the other person would swear at the other person. So, I grew up in a household that was really fun. It was a really fun environment, and there was a lot of material just happening around me where I was like, I need to tell people about this. So by the time I got to high school, I realized I wasn't going to be an athlete like my older brothers. I was going to be on the speech team. And speech team in high school in Illinois is very competitive. It's at like a state level. So there's 14 different events that you can compete in, and you kind of find the one that fits your niche, what you're good at. So one of the events that I did was called original comedy, which is a lot like stand-up comedy, where you would write an 8-minute story with characters and kind of tell this plot where you meet all these 80 characters, and it's like, it could be anything, but it had to be clean, and it had to have a lot of jokes in it. So I got really good at that, and I had these speech coaches who were, 10 or 15 years older than me, but they saw how much I liked comedy, so they introduced me to a lot of great stuff like Mr. Show. Has anyone ever seen Mr. Show? It was an old HBO sketch show.
I love it.
You love it? Very good.
I know of it.
Oh, you know of it. Very good. Stuff like Arrested Development had come out when I was in high school. Love Arrested Development. Older stuff like the movie Clue. Has anyone ever seen Clue?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Clue is one of my all-time favorite movies. And when I was a junior in high school, I got to audition to be in the stage version of the movie. We were doing it at my high school because, again, I had these really cool speech coaches that were just amazing at introducing us to great material. And I auditioned for Wadsworth the Butler, and I was super excited because he gets to run around and he gets to introduce and kind of explain the whole storyline and who did what and who murdered who with what thing and what room. And I thought that was going to be so much fun. And I didn't get that part, and I was like crushed because I'm like, oh, this was like meant for me, and I really wanted it. And I was a junior, and they gave it to a senior, and they're like, but we want you to play Mr. Green. And I was like, Mr. Green? I'm like, he's not that fun. Ended up being the funnest thing I ever did, and it's still like one of my most fondest memories when I think back to the 4 years of high school and even college. I always tell people, I'm like, I got to be Mr. Green. I got to say. One of the lines I got to say in front of my entire school was I had to stand up and say, I'm a homosexual. and then I sit back down on the couch and the guy next to me kind of scoots off to the side. And as a 15, 16-year-old kid, I was like, oh my God, I have to say this in front of the whole school. But it was a huge comedy moment, and that was kind of like when I learned that I would do anything for if the material's funny enough. It's like I don't care what I'm saying, as long as this joke is going to land, and it did, and that whole scene was great. And at the end of every performance we did of Clue, the movie, the play, we had the audience vote on who they thought the killer was and what the ending was, just like the movie. So it was really cool. They would put my name on the ballot, even though Mr. Green could never be the killer. He's always the guy at the end who ends up being an FBI agent. Which is cool. At the very end of the play, I get to say, I'm going to go home and have sex with my wife. So that canceled out the earlier lines. So it was just a really fun part of the play. But every time people wrote, they had the 6 names to choose from on the ballot, they would always pick Mr. Green because I don't know, they just liked what I did with the character. So that was really cool. So it was like reassuring at the end. They'd be like, well, Ryan Buds with Mr. Green got 400 votes, but he can't be the thing, so we'll go with Colonel Mustard, who had the second most votes. So that was always like a really fun memory of high school and acting and performing for me. And I kind of took a lot of the fun I had doing speech team and plays and things like that in high school, and I kind of started exploring the idea of what the number one thing I like doing, which is making people laugh. So I'm like, I don't really want to act in drama. I've never really done any drama. A few little one-act plays here and there, a few scenes and things. But when I got to college, I was like, how am I going to do this? I think I'm going to do stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is one of the coolest things because you have 100% control over it. You know, nobody's, for the most part, is writing anything for you. And you're coming up with what you want to say and how you want to say it. And you're just doing a lot of trial and error to see what works and what doesn't work with different audiences all around the country, and it's super, super fun. So I started doing that in college. There was an open mic in my dorm basement, and my girlfriend at the time was like, you should do this open mic. It's a really cool thing. You always talk about doing comedy, and I was super scared of it because I had done all this performance in high school, but doing it by yourself with the microphone, holding it for the first time in front of strangers is just like, it's very scary. So I ended up doing it. I said, okay, I'm going to do it, but I don't want you to come. I don't want you to be embarrassed if you're there, and I don't want any of my friends to come. So they said, okay, we won't be there. So I get pulled my name out of the thing, and I go to do my set, and they all walk in. So they surprised me, and it ended up going really good. And I talked for, I think, 4 or 5 minutes. The first and the last things I said got big laughs. And then you kind of just get addicted to the process. You're like, why did that thing get laughs? How can I write more lines like that last line and that kind of thing? So you just kind of keep doing it, and that was in 2006. So I've been doing it for 11 years now. And I do proper stand-up comedy like at clubs and things less now than I ever have before in the whole first 10 years that I did it. But I'm busy with a lot of other stuff at night that pays really well. So I've kind of not graduated, but I've moved on to another thing. And then I still do stand-up from time to time. The girl that told me, the girlfriend who said that she wasn't going to show up, who did show up, is my wife now. So we met 11 years ago, and we've been married for 5. And we have a daughter. Her name's Annabelle. She's 2. She's super fun. So yeah, met in college, and we graduated in 2008, and I got a job with I did get a degree. I got a degree in college. I was going to be a high school English teacher, and then I decided, well, I think I'm just going to do the comedy and performance thing and drop the teaching part. And I'm going to be an English major. So I got a degree, bachelor's degree in English, and I got a job at a community college in Illinois called Moraine Valley Community College, and I worked there and I ran the photo ID department. You know, when you go to a new school or a new building, you have to get that photo ID made and you take the picture. So I ran and operated that department, and I would hire student aides to kind of work and take the pictures and things like that. And I worked there for 3 years. It was a really fun job. It was a part-time job that turned into a full-time job. I was making about $50,000 a year, full benefits. It was like a really nice, cushy job I could have had until I retired. And the whole time I was doing that, I would take my vacation time, my weekends, my sick days, and I would do comedy, and I'd perform, because that's what I really wanted to do. And at a certain point, I said, I don't care how much I'm making, I want to take the leap and do comedy full time. So I told my wife, I think I'm going to quit my job, and she said, okay, I support that. And I started doing comedy full time in 2011. So 2011 to 12, I did comedy full time. I was at a different club every weekend, doing all kinds of road work and traveling around the Midwest and coming out here to visit and that kind of stuff. My wife's originally from Ontario, California, not too far from here. So she has a lot of family out here, and she grew up this way. And we always kind of talked about moving out to LA at some point. So after a year of doing the full-time comedy stuff around Chicagoland, we moved out here in 2012, and we've been here since October 2012. So we just hit 4 years, a little over 4 years. And my wife had a job lined up when we moved out here, and that kind of kept us afloat for a while. But one of the things I wanted to do was to try and pull in some money. So I started hosting trivia nights at bars and venues and all kinds of different places around California. And what a trivia night is you go to a bar, and every Tuesday from 8 to 10, people come and play trivia at that bar. It's usually free, and if you win, you get like a $20 or $25 or $50 gift card to the bar, or a bar tab, or free drinks, or that kind of thing. And I give away a bunch of prizes as well. And I have a ton of fun doing it. And it's all pop culture stuff: movies, music, television, video games, comic books. If you like any of that stuff, which I can tell by a lot of the shirts in here, Dragon Ball Z and Space Invaders and Quicksilver and Squad Goals with the Mario gang on it, you guys would probably be into that, which is why I hope you'll have fun with some trivia that we do today. But yeah, I kind of started doing that almost for fun and for a little bit of extra income. And I had one night in 2012, and now I have 14. So I have 14 nights. I do it almost every night of the week. And I have other comedian friends of mine who move out here from Chicago or from the East Coast, and they're looking for work, and I kind of plug them into different trivia nights. And it's a good way to make a few extra bucks, and it just takes 2 hours out of my night, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So that whole side business and kind of staying positive and staying in the hustle with everything has led to like a really good, I could do that full time and we'd do okay. But it really helps when I have like an acting job during the day for a couple weeks or a production job. So that kind of leads to what I do in this building. I work on the show Ridiculousness on MTV. It's a clip show. That's my most current job, and Rob Dyrdek is the host of that show. It's been on for 10 seasons, and we work on it in these 10 episode chunks. So we start the next 10 episodes on March 20th, which is why I'll be back on the 4th floor of the other building. And I've worked with Rob Dyrdek's production company called Super Jacket, which is all his shows on MTV: Rob and Big, Ridiculousness, Fantasy Factory, and then there's a show called Crashleets on Nickelodeon that is his as well. Dude Perfect, if you've ever seen those guys, they do trick shots. They have a show on CMT. Snack Off, that's a cooking show. So they do quite a bit of stuff on MTV, Nickelodeon, etc. And I've been super lucky to be part of the Super Jacket family with that company. It's probably about 50, 60 people that work there in terms of all the editors and the hosts and the different producers that help make those shows happen. And I started with Super Jacket in February 2014. So I just hit 3 years actually. And I got that job because I texted a comedian friend of mine. I was interviewing for similar jobs and not getting them because I didn't have a ton of experience in that production world. And I texted a friend of mine who was a comedian. I said, I know you work on an MTV show. I didn't even know what it was. And I just said, do you know of any openings or anything I can send a resume to? And he goes, yeah, my boss is looking for somebody today. And I sent my resume and I interviewed that day. And one of the people I interviewed was from Chicago. So I went over to a place in Burbank after the interview, and it went really well. But I'm like, I gotta seal the deal. So I bought a pizza the next day from this place called Taste Chicago, which specializes in deep dish pizza. And I had it delivered to the office that said, hey, great to meet you guys. Here's some Chicago love from Ryan Buds. And then they called me right after that, and I got the job. So that's a little trick. That's a little trick. If you're ever looking to get a job, send a pizza over. No one's ever gonna be mad if pizza showed up. So that was really fun. And I worked with those guys on Ridiculousness for about 2 years. And then I transitioned over to a Nickelodeon show called Crashleets. It's hosted by New England Patriots player Rob Gronkowski. And literally, we taped a ton of stuff with Gronk literally on the 5th floor of this building. So there's a chance you may have seen him. He's about as tall as the light right there. He's a monster, and he's super fun to work with. So he'll probably be around this building again in, I would guess, the next time we film, probably around the summertime, I would guess. So that's really fun, and it's a super fun show. It's a clip show. If you don't know clip shows, they're basically people falling down on the internet, and we put it on a show. So it's super fun to work on, and that's like my full-time gig. I worked most recently on a 90th anniversary special for NBC that aired on, last Sunday with the Paley Center. That was really fun. My jobs on these clip shows are to either find out who posted the clips we want to use and get them to sign release forms. So if Oksana had a clip of Nick falling down, it was all his camera equipment, then and someone taped it, or she taped it, I would go, okay, Oksana, we want to use this, we have to send this release form, And then with Nick, we have to have you sign an appearance release form to air the clip, which we're going to do later today. No. So that's one part of the job. The other part is actually finding the clips. So how these clip shows work is the writers come up with categories. So they'll be like, I want to do a category called Winter Blunderland, where it's a bunch of people falling down on ice or in snow or sledding or that kind of thing. And then my job as a segment producer on that show is to find, 10 or 15 examples of that clip on the internet that we haven't used on any shows before. So we might have somebody falling down in a pile of snow or jumping off a roof into snow or something like that. And then I pitch all 15 of those clips to the writers, and the writers go, okay, we want to use these 5. And then that's kind of how the process works. So it's a super fun job. It's creative because you're helping, come up with the content for the show. And if you have an idea for a joke and that kind of thing, it's a very kind of open environment where you can be like, oh, we could say this kind of line here with this kind of joke. And as a comedian, that's what I get a kick out of. So I spend most of my days right now working full-time on production shows like that, like Ridiculousness, Crash Leaks, little specials here and there. And then on the weekends and nights, I host trivia and do stand-up as much as I can. And then every once in a while, I get to do a little acting role. And most recently, I was in a movie called, have you guys heard of Straight Outta Compton?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in Straight Outta Compton. I was in a knockoff monster movie called Snake Outta Compton, which will be out. It'll be out like this fall, hopefully. And I play a newscaster. I had a gross mustache and big glasses and a jacket and things. It was super fun. I'll try and show you guys some pictures in a little bit. But it was a really fun experience. It was just something I shot over the weekend. And I've somehow kind of become, I don't want to say known for the cheesy monster B movies, but I was in the first Sharknado movie, and I was in a movie called Airplane vs. Volcano, which is ridiculous. These are all on Netflix, and then now Snake Outta Compton. I've also been on shows like How I Met Your Mother. I got to be like a roller skating hipster with a big curly mustache. It was on the Super Bowl week, so they advertised a clip of me on the show during the Super Bowl, which was really, really cool. And a lot of people, I have amazing luck with people thinking I'm like a bigger deal than I am. Where they're like, I saw you on the Super Bowl commercial, you must be doing great. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm in it for like a split second. It just happened to be that second that they advertised. So I've done that. Sharknado, I'm in for literally a split second. But the split second they used in Sharknado is a picture of me covered in blood, screaming with my leg looking like it's been bitten off by a shark. And they used that picture for all kinds of promotion when that movie blew up 4 years ago. So every blogger, the LA Times, I was on the cover. It was like, movies of the weekend, World War Z and Sharknado, and it's Brad Pitt and me. Like stuff like that. Like, oh my God, like you're Ryan, and people call me, you made it. And I'm like, kinda, but it's super fun. The coolest thing I can share with you guys is you have to be in control of your own destiny. And I'm sure you've heard that before. I don't know what my final stop in anything is, but I do know that everything that I've accomplished is stuff that I wanted to do, and it's led to more stuff that I've wanted to do. And every once in a while you have to do something you don't want to do, but you have to always outnumber the stuff you don't want to do with the stuff you do want to do. And eventually the stuff you really like and you're into can turn into a career. I mean, I love all the stuff I talked about with trivia, pop culture, movies, all the shirts you guys are wearing. I can just tell by the energy in this room, you guys are going to love the trivia. I love getting ready for that kind of thing, and I do it. That's why I do it every day. And you guys, if you like film production, if you like sound, like stick with that stuff, because there is a way to turn that into a career, even if you're not making money doing it now. You just have to stick with it, and you have to keep doing it as much as you possibly can. And you have to network. Networking is the biggest thing you can possibly do. I'm only here because I was lucky enough to meet Liz Fenning over at a company called The Stream TV, where we're working on a live stream trivia show together. And now I'm super lucky to know each and every one of you. And thank you guys so much for listening to me for 20 minutes or so.